Hello to everybody. As you heard, I was unable to travel to Amsterdam due to health reasons, and I would have liked very much to meet colleagues and friends and visit the new site in Amsterdam. The title of my presentation is a little bit anachronic. Since 30 years ago, few people heard about regulatory science. The term only appeared a couple of years later. There is a say, science doesn't rule the world, but certainly it has ruled the European Medicines Agency from the start and even before during the preparatory steps. Regulatory science needs good regulations and strong regulators. I will address both aspects and mention a few people from a very long list of crucial actors. Next slide, please. The inauguration of the European Medicines Evaluation Agency, as it was called at the time, took place in London on the 26th of January 1995. And on this picture, you can see the chairman of the Human Committee, Jean-Michel Agnesson, the chair of the board from Heppel, who is with us today, the chair of the Committee of Veterinary Medicines, Reinhard Kocher. You can feel that there was a relaxed atmosphere in the room, but you could hear the hammering next door because all the meeting rooms had not yet been fitted. And clearly, from the beginning, there has been a real entente cordiale between the board, the human, and the vet part of the activities. And the scientific synergy of having human and veterinary products under one roof was real, starting with antimicrobial resistance. Next slide. The regulatory science concept emerged officially in corporate documents only in 2012, both in the work program and in several articles in the annual report. The prerequisite for regulatory science is, as I said already, sound regulation and smart regulators. But let's not forget that despite increasing transparency, the public trust in regulation and regulators remains fragile with the spreading of anti-scientific view. I would like to add also that at present, citizens seem to be more concerned with shortages than with therapeutic innovation. And therefore, I think regulatory science shouldn't be reserved to a scientific elite, but as far as possible, could be shared with civil society. And the whole development of the European Medicines Agency has shown the importance of patient expertise, and research, scientific evaluation basis, and of course also in the daily healthcare. Next slide. The regulatory environment has changed a lot. On the left-hand side, you can see some serious issues in the 80s, like arbitrary decision, technically incompetent regulators, poor scientific debates. There were corruption scandals in certain countries. Few scientific officers in health ministries, mainly part-time university professors advised the ministers. Ministries had little scientific resources, and there were only a few agencies such as the Bundesgesundheitsamt in Germany. There was also a predominant wait-and-see syndrome, people looking towards the FDA to know what should be the next step. And unfortunately, the FDA suffered at that time of what was called a drug lag. The scandals which existed in certain countries were unlikely to happen under the strict EU peer review. It would have been very difficult to corrupt so many experts from so many different countries. So I think since 1995, the existence of the European Medicine Agency and of the EU regulatory network more generally has remedies most of these shortcomings. Next slide. The first steps of EU regulatory science can be seen mainly in the 80s with the creation of the Scientific Committee for Human Medicine, CPMP, and for Veterinary Medicine, CVMP, the emergence of quality, safety, efficacy, and GMP guidelines, a common format for application, and a sort of informal codification. Under the chair of Léon Robert, I was asked to create the secretary to the CPMP, and then later, under the chairmanship of Jacques Boisseau, the secretary of the CVMP. I was then succeeded by Marie Dominic and Bob Hanking, respectively. Under these committees, in order not to stay idle, working parties were created. And we have with us today Rolf Bast, who chaired the Safety Working Party, and Jean-Louis Hubert, son of Léon, who chaired the Quality Working Party. In the previous scientific presentation, I heard the name of Professor Whitberg, and if he is the same, Professor Whitberg was an eminent member of the Efficacy Working Party with Professor Alexandre, and he brought to us from the Northern Council of Medicine a very important good clinical practice guideline. The guideline, contrary to strict regulation, became then a tool of choice for regulatory science. Unlike regulation, it was flexible, easy to update, to put the state-of-the-art level, and it was also a pedagogical instrument between those who knew better and those who were still in the learning curve. Next slide. The evolution of the framework for regulatory science came in my opinion, 3 phases. The first phase, from 1980 to 2000, saw the development of requirement. First, I headed a small pharma unit, which produced 13 proposals for the 1985 white paper on the completion of the single market. The biotech high-tech procedure, which came in 86, prefigured on a voluntary basis the main EMEA principle of functioning, and also introduced 10 years protection, which is still a controversial subject nowadays. In the 1990s, that was the start of the European Medicine Agency and of many national agencies. I would like to, since we have the presence of Petra Dor from EDQM in Strasbourg, I would like to underline the very important partnership with Agnès Artige and the Pharmacopoeia, which were very useful to take up the generic end of the market and biological standardization. Next slide. The second phase started with the codification of all the previous texts in 2001, and it led to constant improvements and a greater role for the European Medicines Agency, including crisis management in the recent years. The third phase will start probably in 2026 with the implementation of the reform and mainly also with the impact of artificial intelligence, which may lead to a new pharmaceutical package in not such a distant future. Next slide. The EU nowadays can count on a solid EU regulatory network made up of the agency, EU Commission, and national agency. The list of all the benefits is given here for 30 countries, including the countries from the European Economic Area. And the European system has been in constant dialogue with other agencies in the world. I start with the Food and Drug Administration, the ICH partner, the new African Medicines Agency, and the International Coalition of Medicine Regulatory Authority. Next slide. At the start, National Medicines Agency coordinated their activities, and from initial competition, mainly for having new substances going either centrally or decentralized system, from this initial competition, we succeeded to create a global partnership between the European Medicines Agency and national agency, with the support to decentralized activities. Here you can see the third meeting of the National Medicines Agency, where I was invited for the first time for the third meeting in Rome. Next slide. Starting in 1999, the European Medicines Agency invested a lot in the Pan-European Regulatory Forum, which allowed the candidate countries to participate in all scientific activities of the agency long before accession. And this started also when Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein were fully included in the European Medicines Agency operation. Next slide. I took this nice slide from a presentation done at the 20th anniversary with Anthony Humphreys and colleagues, which pays tribute to the hard work of all European Medicines Agency scientific bodies. And I hope that for this anniversary, this slide could be updated. When it comes to the European Medicines Agency governance, next slide, we have a picture here also at the 20th anniversary of the 7 board chairs at the time around Guido. And on the right-hand side, the successive executive directors, Thomas Lundgren, Andreas Pott, Guido Rassi, with whom I entertained very pleasant exchanges. Next slide. I think one important asset of the whole system is the European Medicines Agency Permanent Secretariat, whose dedicated skilled members provide a lot of tasks which are listed here, hundreds of meetings, thousands of experts managed, scientific and administrative support, and the support for the Commission marketing organization. From 16 staff members at the inauguration, we flew to around 1,000 people nowadays. And I would like to reiterate the message of Emma, which she gave on the 1st May to her staff. And I could have used it at the very beginning. Keep being curious, keep asking questions. That is the duty of scientists in our society. It's true that the early recruitments were difficult. We got young, enthusiastic colleagues from all over Europe, but at the time, senior national staff were not so sure about the EMEA's future chances. So we started with an important leap, the learning phase, with standard operating procedures, and achieved fast results leading to a quality management culture. One of the premier worldwide, the European public assessment reports, was inspired at that time by Marisa Papadou. And the Secretariat was from the start the strict guardians of evaluation time, which was very important for our success. Next slide. The successful harmonization process was shared with other important partners in the world. We were able to recycle the internal harmonization efforts to reach out to other agencies and regional bodies, and with the WHO, of course, such as ICH. Here you can see the picture of the second steering committee of ICH in Tokyo in 1990. The Pharmacopoeia, to which the European Union adhered as a full member in 1994, and the VICH process, which started in Brussels in 1996. Next slide. I would like to pay tribute to good old friends, Noël Watillon from Beck Pharma, who left us. Noël Watillon had a key role in developing regulatory science at the European Medicines Agency, and your conference room today has his name attached. Beck Pharma, first chair of the Committee of Orphan Medicine Product, was also able to welcome patient groups, not only for regular exchanges, but as full members of scientific committees and later even of the board. And I would like to meet here Jan Le Cam, who will succeed me in my presentation, who was unanimously elected first vice chair of the committee, to represent patients and play a very active role in advancing their cause through Europeans. Next slide. A few pictures from celebration of 2010, 2015. In 2000, you can see Patrick de Boisert, who was my successor at the Pharma, with José Aranda da Silva and Rui Ivo, first and present Infarmed heads. I was very lucky to participate in the inauguration of Infarmed and in the 30th anniversary in Lisbon as well. We had a celebration cake in 1915 with Krista Wirtmer and Guido Rasi. I didn't have any picture from what was probably a silent celebration in 2020 after the move to Amsterdam. I would like to underline the crucial role of head of agencies around Emergence and their capacity to anticipate. The European Medicines Agency and the EU network of national agencies is an excellent example of successful combination of national and EU activities on very complex scientific issues over the last 30 years. No major failures were registered, no major complaints from patients, professionals, or industry. The European Medicines Agency has been able to anticipate many features of the future pharma package with pilot projects on COVID and also on shortages. And these pilot projects are facilitating greatly the discussion in Council and Parliament, leading to the final adoption of the package. I would like also to underline the international prestige of the European Medicines Agency and of the whole EU regulatory network. Next slide. The pharma reform opens a third cycle with many positive aspects, which I have listed here, also together with the Critical Medicines Act and the Future Biotech Act. The complex incentive regime of data protection is still a difficulty to be resolved by Council and Parliament. Another issue for me is really a question to DG Santé about the EU complexity. I mean, over time, the EU regulation has become very complex. And my two questions are, would there be an opportunity for regulatory simplification when the Commission implements all the new measures under the package once adopted? And my second question of simplification is, beyond the present reform, could the clinical trials regulation be revisited and simplified to attract more research in Europe? I will like to finish with the homage to the African Medicines Agency. There was a very recent encounter at the agency between African Medicines Agency and European Medicines Agency directors and board members. I remember a very important harmonization meeting which took place in Accra in 2012. Lambit Radio was there for WHO, and Yves Juliet for EIA was organizing the meeting. And Mimi Darko gave a very impressive presentation. One African colleague made a very funny remark, wondering whether this was all about PowerPoint harmonization, or will it become real in the near future? It has become real, although it took a long time. Thank you very much for your attention.